So you might be wondering, what the fuck is the best of DeadMemeFrog? And I'll tell you right now, this video is a compilation of everything I've uploaded since November of 2020. Except for my first Carson video. We're not fucking touching that. Now, you might be wondering why I'm uploading this, and to that I say, I just found it funny. Everyone has to do some type of best of video by the end of the year just to get some quick watch time and help out their channel. And since I didn't have an upload for December, I decided to just quickly put this out. Some of these videos aren't things I'm personally proud of, just to put that out there, including the first video you're gonna see in this compilation, so just keep that in mind. I might not stand by everything said in the videos I feature here. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. If I had told you that YouTube has changed from what it used to be and the website has gotten way worse, that would just be pointing out the obvious. It's such a popular opinion at this point that there were entire bandwagons at a time just talking about YouTube's issues. Hell, even I made a video about YouTube's bullshit a few months back. The website had turned itself from a charming place that was for the creator and a place that you could express yourself without having to worry about getting censored, to a place that is mainly for corporations and mainstream celebrities, and a place that heavily censors creators so that they don't make their platform look bad. They're basically a shadow of their former selves. Today we're going to be looking at how this happened and how YouTube took such a dramatic shift from where they originally were to now. A lot of years on YouTube in which people would call the golden age, but to make it so that this video isn't an absolute clusterfuck of filler, I'm only going to be focusing on one era, and that is 2016. This year would mark the popularization of commentary as a genre on YouTube by creators like Leafy, Pyrocynical, and No Fuckers. Commentary was at an all-time high in popularity, and all the creators just mentioned have gained a significant amount of growth in a short amount of time. I know people are conflicted about 2016 sometimes, considering the amount of drama that did happen in that year, but in all honesty, I enjoyed the shit shows that would unfold. People would get exposed for horrific and honestly disgusting behavior day by day, and it was very interesting to watch then. And while creators did try and speak out about drama, it did little to nothing to stop it. In fact, it only fueled it.
PewDiePie, Markiplier, and Matthew Santoro have recently made videos doing some Fox News level fear-mongering, saying that something as generic and vague as drama as a whole is ruining this website. No disrespect to any of them, right? But I'm just being real, okay? They're wrong here.
And again, shit was very interesting and entertaining to watch. Edgy content was also something that was at an all-time high, with creators like iDubbbz, MaxMofo, and Filthy Frank being in their prime. I know I'm biased here considering I am a commentary channel myself and have an edgier sense of humor, but YouTube just felt more free back then. You wouldn't get struck down for being harsh with your criticism and not hold back, and you could still make a living on this website making edgy jokes. It was a much better time, and it brought some of the greatest content I've seen on YouTube. And I'm not gonna pretend like YouTube didn't have issues back then, because they definitely did. Copyright claims and strikes were most definitely a big issue, mostly with review channels, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it would get in the coming years. Now, I think it's safe to say that YouTube had a more negative reputation when it came to mainstream media since 2016, but it got to a breaking point. There was an incident with PewDiePie which I know you all know about, so I'm not gonna play it here, and it basically started a hate campaign against them. News sites like the Wall Street Journal ended up slandering PewDiePie, and advertisers jumped the gun on YouTube and pulled their ads away from the app, because hey, we don't care what's right and what's fact. If it can make us look even slightly bad, we have to pull out. And it caused this little fucking yellow icon on videos as well. It caused YouTubers to get little to no ads on their videos anymore. Now, as bad as people make this incident out to be, it isn't the main thing that brought YouTube's downfall, believe it or not. Because you may have not been able to make a lot of money from your content and it wouldn't push out your shit. I get people getting irritated by that, but at least you could still make what you wanted on the site. But that all changed later. Meet Monkey Jones, an edgy YouTuber that had amassed about 300,000 subscribers before he got terminated off the website in 2018. He had gotten 3 strikes in the same day, and his channel just got fucking nuked, along with any other channels he tried to make. Now, this wasn't just some mass flagging incident. A video that was private on his channel was striked, and it was never public, meaning nobody could have seen the video and reported it. YouTube was most definitely targeting his channel, and while he does have a channel now that has amassed about 1/3 of his original sub count, this incident definitely showed that YouTube can and will smite you off their website if they don't want you there, which is scary to hear for any edgy YouTuber like Mumkey here. But shit gets worse from here. Remember this little logo? Well, it came back about a year ago. YouTuber Matt Watson made a video about an algorithm in YouTube which uncovered an underground pedophile ring.
In YouTube comments, they're trading unlisted videos in secret, and YouTube's algorithm, through some kind of glitch or error in its programming, is actually facilitating their ability to do this.
YouTube themselves saw his video and fixed things with their website. Now, they did fuck up a bit here. Instead of moderating their comments on kids' videos, they just disabled them, but at least they did something. But that wasn't enough for Matt over here. He had started multiple live streams where he and his newly gained following would try and get multiple companies to pull their ads off of YouTube, which I don't think I even need to mention why that's a bad move. This dude basically caused the second adpocalypse and fucked over many creators with his shenanigans, and YouTube had already been fixing their issues. There was no point. I feel like he was trying to start a movement with this considering how forced his video seems, and how over-dramatic it was.
And I didn't know that this might possibly be the last video that I ever make on this platform because I don't want to support it anymore.
But I'd advise anyone to never try this, as it will only hurt the creator in the end, and I don't think any YouTuber deserves their income to get taken away like this. But shit still got worse. In November of 2019, the iDubbbz content cop on Leafy got taken down, which was oddly not his harshest content cop. That one would be his Keemstar one, and the Gokanar Video Vigilante on H3H3 also got taken down, which was a great critique of how Ethan fell from grace over the years, and Fine Bros React by Psychic Pebbles got taken down. All of which were videos which made fun of and criticized YouTubers mentioned. This especially set a bad precedent for commentary channels. Their new rules had literally started to target commentary channels like Leafy. YouTube basically started saying, "Fuck you, you can't express your opinion on my platform," to the more critical commentators, which is a sad thing to see. But I guess it made sense to YouTube, because commentary as a genre may make their platform look bad to advertisers. Still, I don't feel like anyone should get censored. Which brings us to now. Leafy is Here got terminated a few months ago. A 5 million subscriber commentator got kicked off their website. And I guess this isn't surprising considering Leafy's reputation, but the overall opinion on his ban was really mixed. There were people like me who thought that Leafy should not have gotten banned, and there were also people who didn't mind because Leafy's main purpose apparently was bullying children. Now, what is my opinion on this? Leafy definitely broke the guidelines, but he should have gotten more of a warning. The few strikes that he did get on his channel were revoked, which was YouTube basically saying that his videos were okay, and the guidelines themselves are really restrictive and need to be changed. This whole thing was scary to see because if they could just delete a channel which had so much history behind it in the community and created one of the biggest genres on YouTube, it could happen to fucking anybody. I'm not trying to fearmonger over this. I don't think commentary as a genre is over because of this, but it definitely shows how restrictive YouTube is nowadays. I know I didn't talk about everything with YouTube. In fact, there are probably videos out there that are much better than this one, that go much more in depth about YouTube's problems and are better structured, but I wanted to keep this brief. YouTube itself will probably never go back to the way it used to be, and while I will still still use the site, along with many others, and has many problems that need to be fixed if they ever want to be thought of in a positive light by anyone ever again. Let me know what you thought of this video. I promise that my newer ones will be way better structured than this, but I kinda had to rush this one due to school. Let me know what you thought in the comments, follow my Twitter, thanks for watching, and Frog Lives Matter. Oh, fuck anyone who says they don't, they are all fucking mega gay. So, I doubt that I even have to explain who Dream is, since if you've had an internet connection at all in the past few months, you've probably heard of him before. His channel has been absolutely blowing up the past few months, with his Minecraft content getting super popular due to the resurgence that Minecraft has had since about 2019. I'm not going to be focusing on his content though, as that is irrelevant to what I'm talking about today. Well, somewhat anyways. If you are making Minecraft content, you are bound to have a younger audience. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if most of the people that watch Dream SMP content were 15 at most. People who are younger tend to idolize the people they enjoy, whether it would be music artists, comedians, athletes, or even YouTube content creators. And this is especially apparent in Dream's fan base, with thousands of people having Twitter accounts dedicated to him and his friends, with these people mostly being referred to as stans. I don't have an issue with stans making communities out of YouTube content. This can be a good way to socialize, and you can meet good friends that you would have never had otherwise. But I do have a problem with how toxic these people act, and how Dream himself denies it being much of an issue. So grab your stan accounts, your highlight channels, and your podcast co-host, and let's get right into this.
So let's talk a bit about a little phenomenon called cute aggression. It's a term used to describe how the brain functions when you see things that are considered cute. Basically, when surrounded with cuteness, the brain produces superficial aggression to pretty much prevent overload. The environment is so adorable, it drives you crazy. It's why someone would want to squeeze a kitten until it pops. Now this kind of response is perfectly normal in small doses and really shouldn't be an issue. However, the problem arises when you surround yourself with next to nothing but polished, glorified fiction. What may have started off as just an endorsement can easily take a sharp turn into a rabbit hole. You begin to forget about decency, you forget about logic, you forget about boundaries. This is what causes people to harass the very same people they idolize. This is what causes people to constantly ship their idols, tarnishing their relationships and ending their involvement in major projects. This is what causes uncensored depravity and degeneracy. This is what we call a stan.
When you hear people talk about stans, you might be thinking to yourself, well, they don't cause any harm to the creator. Well, think again, because Dream got fucking doxxed. In order to not spread around the dox any further, I'll be showing heavily censored screenshots out of respect for Dream's privacy. The current story around what happened was that Dream posted a video on his second Twitter account of his cat while he was in his kitchen, and someone somehow found his house due to this. And his stans were fucking reposting it, along with some of them even going as far as to repost a full dox of Dream with a shit ton of personal information. It is important to note though that a stan didn't dox him, and that it was allegedly a hacking group that had Dream's dox for about 2 to 3 months now at the time of recording. So a bit of an update, I made a point about Dream claiming his dox was fake, which he was initially, but he actually confirmed that it was real recently. Just wanted to clarify that. Back to the video. Now, Dream himself tried to claim the dox was fake by messaging a commentary channel with under 100k subs about it.
And Dream did actually message me on Twitter saying that it's not his address, and basically said that I probably shouldn't have made the video, and I agree. So I have now removed that video.
Which I personally do not believe, judging by the leaked photos, but I don't blame him for not saying it's real. Would you want to reveal that your dox was real if you were as popular as he is? It would just make people fuck with you more, especially since it was, you know, a view-hungry commentator trying to message him about it. This is no diss to Scrimsocks, by the way, I'm just illustrating a point as to why Dream wouldn't tell someone that a dox was real. But my main point is that if you are getting doxed from a fucking video on your Twitter page of a cat and stans start reposting it, then yeah, there is a problem, especially if the people you associate with are also getting doxed. Tommy Innit, another popular creator and good friend of Dream, was also doxed. May I say that this is a 16-year-old kid making fucking Minecraft videos on the internet that people had an issue with for some reason and decided to dox. Yeah, that's fucked up. Doxing is never justified, I'll make that clear now. but it feels especially odd for it to happen in this case, considering that Tommy has little to no drama to his name. But then again, Scott the Woz got hacked on Twitter, and he has quite literally never done anything remotely controversial. So it kind of shows that people will just do shitty things for the sake of it. Some stans also ended up spreading this info about Tommy. Idolizing a creator is one thing, but when it gets to the point that you would spread your favorite creator's docs because of how obsessed you are, yeah, you need help. The fact that Dream has not addressed this shit in any big capacity is fucking mind-boggling. I get that it's a minority of stans that spread this shit, but not addressing the problems at all just seems like he's trying to cater to his audience, which is, you know, full of stans. Now, shipping is obviously not as bad as fucking doxing creators. It's like I stated the obvious there. But it is still a problem and actually happens a lot in these communities. And it's more common than you would think. Shipping itself happens in any fan base you can think of. Name a fan base and this will exist in there. It isn't just a problem in dreams, but it does become a problem when you put two real people together, and not some cartoon characters, which I find to be extremely off-putting, mainly because two people are being mashed into this fantasized relationship in their fan base's minds. So it can make the creators feel very uncomfortable, and this is why I think shipping should stay in the cartoon fandoms. Because while I don't believe that you should spend all your time talking about fictional relationships between cartoon characters, it doesn't affect real people. I'd much rather see a cartoon character get shipped with another, because it doesn't affect them. They're fucking fictional, not real. And speaking of affecting real people, Wilbur and Nihachu are two popular internet personalities who were affected by this. They started to hang out a lot more, causing their combined fan bases to see them as an item, which is a problem. Nihachu ended up going live and mentioned the constant shipping and how it affected her, which, spoiler alert, it was pretty negative.
Wilbur and I are just friends. We were never together. People just keep assuming that we are together. Even if we were together, we would not tell you that, because that is very private. That's a very private matter. So please stop asking. We are fine. Yeah, no, respect our privacy. It's private.
I think before people do anything like this, they need to hear what the creator feels about what they're doing. Or, you know, they could stop it altogether. That's a good idea too. And maybe they shouldn't do it to minors either. TommyInnit and Tubbo are two streamers who have blown up due to Dream SMP. They play Minecraft together a lot, and people used to ship them a lot. While most of these shipping posts are now deleted due to a stream clip of Tommy saying he was uncomfortable with people doing that, there used to be a lot. And that is a problem. Not only could it have made them feel very awkward and uncomfortable, but they are both 16 years old. I don't get how anyone could have even remotely thought that was the right thing to do, and how it took Tommy saying something himself for people to finally stop.
I've not been on Twitter very much over the past week, and it has been great. But boys, any of this not safe for work, like sex-related fanfic, whatever that is on the Wattpad or on Twitter, I am not comfortable with that, and I do not endorse it. I just thought I'd have to say. I thought it would have been obvious because I'm a child, but I thought I'd just let you all know, because I haven't ever formally said.
When they should have, because, well, he's a fucking minor. That's pretty much all I have to say about shipping, so let's get to what is probably going to be the most serious section in this video.
While shipping real people is bad and does harm the relationship between friends, at least you could say that it keeps out of sexual territory. Now let me introduce you to the part of the Dream standbase that you cannot use that excuse for. Enter NSFW MCYT TWT, the community that takes shipping creators to the next level by drawing them in sexual situations. Yes, you heard that right. There is an entire community on twitter.com dedicated towards projecting their fantasies and fetishes onto Minecraft YouTubers. People like to use the excuse that, oh, it's okay to make porn of creators because they said that they were okay with it. But that is just full of shit. These people do not give a fuck about consent. Let me give you a couple of examples to prove my point. J-Star has explicitly said on multiple occasions that he is not comfortable with himself being shipped and finds it creepy. So what makes these people think that he would be completely fine seeing this image of him fucking Wilbur suit? Want more examples? Average MCYT is a Twitter account that documents these people's insanity for the world to see. And as you might expect, the people in this community didn't like this one bit. And knowing this, you'd also probably expect a strong response from them. What was that response? Oh yeah, to draw porn of someone they knew for a fact was an unwilling participant. Would a person who cares even the slightest bit about consent do this? No, they don't care. They just want to get their rocks off. And you want to know why they think this? Well, we can trace this mindset back to a clip from one of the man himself's streams, where he says that most people in his circle do not care about pornography being made of themselves.
It's being sexualized. I've seen so many people get angry on our behalf for people that have tweeted things about us or about each other. We don't care. We honestly don't care. I don't think I have seen a single thing be said about me or about George or Sapnap that I have cared about and gone, oh, that person shouldn't be saying that.
Now I believe Dream is a complete fool for allowing any NSFW to be circulated in his community, not only because of the IRL consequences that violently shipping people causes, and how he takes advantage of the parasocial relationship between him and his audience, but also because it only takes one person to say, meh, I'm fine with NSFW, for the fandom to go absolutely apeshit, as we have already seen. Also, I'm sorry to inform you that this doesn't just stop at creators fucking. I'm not joking when I say there is legit Dream SMP gore art, which includes the infamous image of an amputated Dream strapped down to a chair while his dripping guts and blood slither down the legs, which is fucking disgusting. And there is even a part of this specific community dedicated to drawing porn of minors. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into straight up illegal activity here, as people fantasize about grown men performing sexual acts with a 16-year-old and about Dream fucking his 14-year-old sister. Excuse me while I fucking puke.
I feel like I should end this off by explaining my issues with stans in general, and criticize Dream a bit, because I feel like the way he avoids talking about the issues just makes it clear that he's trying to pander to his audience. You might have watched this entire video and have the opinion of, well, this guy thinks stans should jump off a fucking cliff, or some shit, and I don't think that. If you want my honest opinion about stans in general though, they're just too obsessive. If I ever got popular and saw a stan account with my face on it, I would probably be weirded out. Maybe I have this mindset because I'm not popular and will probably never become popular, but it seems really creepy. If your whole personality surrounds Dream and his content, that is weird. At the end of the day, these are Minecraft YouTubers having fun playing games while getting paid for it. They shouldn't be put on this high pedestal just because they're popular, and shouldn't be idolized as much as they are. I'm not saying you can't be a fan of someone's work, by the way. If I was saying that, I'd be condemning literally every person who watches YouTube almost. But treating creators as gods is unhealthy, and I feel like Dream enables the toxic behavior coming from these stans. For starters, he has never addressed any of this behavior in any major capacity, which is strange to say the least. The behavior had gotten so bad that Tommy Innit, a close friend of his, actually addressed this shit, which tells me that it isn't just a small minority of fans that are toxic. Or, at the very least, it's common enough for them to notice. It's kinda telling whenever a 16-year-old kid is able to be a man and address a problem in his fanbase, and you aren't. The next thing that happened is that Josh, another content creator, ended up making a Twitter thread about stans and the toxic culture. And while I will admit that he was being a bit harsher than necessary, he had a point, which was completely ignored by Dream, who called him an idiot and posted a definition on Twitter of the word stan, which really just describes a normal fan. Not to mention the fact that on his private Twitter account, he calls his fans kittens and says that he loves every single one of his fans, which is bullshit. Every entertainer that says that they love every single one of their fans is lying. It's just a fact. So saying some shit like this just feels very manipulative and very pandering. So I'm going to conclude this video here. Thank you guys for watching, and thanks for 400 subscribers, by the way. I appreciate it. I know I haven't made a video in a while, and I apologize for that. I will try and upload more frequently, although I will almost never improve on that, so we'll see where that goes. If you want any updates on this, follow my Twitter at DeadMemeFrog, and I have one more thing to say. Frog lives matter. We are superior. Eliminate every other race. Let me just start off by saying that this isn't going to be like my usual videos. If you were here to see my opinions on YouTube drama, like defending CallMeCarson for 14 minutes, you might be disappointed. If this video gets absolutely shit on view-wise, then I understand, but I've had some shit in my mind that I've wanted to talk about for a while. For some time now, the commentary community has been on two sides of the same coin essentially. Haha, I mentioned the video title in the video. And these two sides would generally be very different from each other. On one side, there would be creators that created in-depth content about certain topics and cared more about integrity than YouTube success, while the other side made daily trending topic videos to try and gain traction on YouTube. Neither sides are harmful to the platform and both are deserving of criticism, especially the topic commentators. What a lot of these channels do is make the same trending topic videos as everyone else and add their dull, inoffensive opinion to the topics they talk about. And they aren't interesting personality-wise. Oh, Tommy Innit got canceled for the third time this week, this bad, Twitter's just toxic, man. You don't need to make long-form content that takes 2 months to make for your stuff to be good. You just have to be interesting, and maybe bring something new to the table that sets you apart from everyone else. This would definitely help with long-term success, because these channels may be blowing up right now, but they will most likely fall into obscurity once the algorithm stops favoring their type of content, and the audience will go with it. Maybe this is an outdated example since he quit commentary essentially, but I like people like Diesel Patches because he makes genuinely funny content about trending topics, and proves that this type of content can be made better if the creators try to put their own personality into the mix. I think the biggest issue with these channels, however, is the covering of serious allegations before both sides come out. And I know what you might say, well, what about your Carson video? Well, that was made 2 months after Carson left the internet due to his allegations, and to this day, he still has not made a response. Making videos about serious allegations that could be detrimental to someone's career before both sides come out is fucking stupid. I can understand wanting to jump on the latest trending topic, but I would rather see 1 million vegan teacher videos than a video with an uninformed opinion about a pedophile accusation. This shit is exactly what happened with the Pyrocynical allegations, for example. Pyrocynical was being accused of grooming a 15-year-old boy when he was 19 by someone named Ivory. When the allegations first came out, people made videos discrediting Ivory, calling him a clout chaser and claiming he was lying, all before Pyro's response. After Pyro's initial Reddit response, Turkey Tom made videos about the situation which swayed public opinion at the time against Pyro, with these same commentators then saying that he was guilty. Pyro then ended up releasing a response video defending himself against the allegations, and these same commentators again switched up, now saying that Pyro was innocent. I feel like this definitely shows that people should keep their biases aside when it comes to stories and actually wait for both sides to come out before coming to any conclusions. I also don't think people should back down on their own opinion in favor of the popular one just to get less backlash. I also definitely don't think serious allegations like this should get coverage by commentary channels like this if they are going to be biased and make uninformed videos that will become irrelevant once every bit of information comes out. Just stick to making the latest video about how Dreams merch sucks, and don't touch this shit. Now, due to my opinions expressed here, you might think that I hate these commentators for the shit they do. However, I don't hate this type of content. In fact, I think it gets too much shit. What I mean by this is there are people who will cry over one of these low-effort channels getting more success in their long-form content. I'm not referring to anyone specifically, by the way. I don't want any drama. The bitching over this type of content isn't new. Back in 2019, the hate towards reaction commentators was big, with creators complaining that their content was just quote-unquote ripping off Leafy, which, to be fair, a lot of it was. But there was also a lot of unnecessary things said, like people comparing themselves to these creators and essentially saying, oh, I make better content than them. Why am I not more successful?
Feels nice to know that despite the hours and hours of effort I've put into my videos, I have not even hit 100k, and many of them have passed 300,000 subscribers, like it's a piece of cake. Pity me.
Even the most talented content creator out there isn't entitled to success, and that's just a fact. YouTube is a gamble. Most people who make content, whether it is good or not, will not make it on the site. You can criticize people for their content, hell, nobody is above it, but don't shit on their success just because you think you are superior to them, or your content is better. Speaking of the content, it's no secret that I prefer long-form commentaries than people like fucking Jaden. There are a lot of channels who do this, which I definitely think are underrated and do deserve success. However, if you are making this type of content in the hopes of becoming the next Colossal is Crazy, you're out of your fucking mind. I think if you were going to make this type of commentary, you shouldn't be making it just because you think it will get big off of it. Personally, I'm passionate about YouTube, I'm proud of the videos I make, and appreciate the small audience that continues to watch my content. I couldn't give any less of a shit if I got past 1,000 subscribers. As long as people are watching at all, gives me motivation to keep making videos. I get the frustration with channels that make poor quality videos blowing up, while people are left in the dust essentially. Jealousy is a natural emotion. It happens with everyone, and isn't a big deal. But you shouldn't let that jealousy consume you and cause you to look down upon these creators. I think something that could benefit everyone, and I'm not talking about getting more success, is making content that they themselves enjoy. If you were trying to upload drama videos every single day that you don't enjoy making just to get some views, that shit can be pretty stressful whenever you don't get the results that you want. If you are also trying to upload long form videos, you gotta keep in mind that you aren't going to grow super quickly unless you are a mega talent or are able to keep a dedicated audience. You shouldn't be discouraged just because somebody else is doing better. Just keep trying and I'm sure you'll eventually get somewhere. Anyways, I'm DeadMemeFrog. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please give my other content a watch. And remember, frog lives fucking matter. You're all fucking gay. Being a YouTuber can be a very tricky thing. For many people, being a YouTuber is their dream job, and they believe that they could just sit down in front of a camera, make a video, then they'd eventually start gaining a massive audience that appreciates every video they make. And in a way, that's what makes YouTube content creation so appealing. But usually, getting success on YouTube is a lot more complicated than that, and it can be very draining on the creator themselves whenever they don't get the results they want. Hell, I can relate to that. I was making gameplay commentary videos before November of this year and did not grow at all. I was getting my hopes down and was about to quit YouTube entirely. I didn't enjoy making videos and hated seeing nothing come out of me making these videos. But then I decided to change my content style, and I stopped caring about growing as much. And ironically, I started getting more traction after the change. I feel like if people really want to just enjoy making content, they shouldn't worry about blowing up on YouTube. As long as someone is watching and appreciating the hard work you put into every single video, it shouldn't matter whether you get to 1,000 or even 1 million subscribers. If you are trying to get popular on YouTube, however, you might want to change things up. I'm going to be using commentary as my main example here, as that is a genre I'm actually familiar with. I've seen people try to get popular off of making highly edited and well-made documentaries and get frustrated at the results of their channel. It's one thing if you are trying to make content you are proud of, but if your main goal is trying to get popular, that type of content should probably not be your main focus. Don't get me wrong, you can definitely get popular off this type of content, but usually you'd have to be a mega talent in order for that to happen. You aren't going to become the next Colossal is Crazy overnight. So if you still want to do commentary, maybe try a different approach. I know this type of content gets a ton of shit. In fact, I talked about it in my last video. But topic commentary or gameplay commentary might just be your route to success. While there are things you'd have to learn before getting popular with this content, including figuring out which topics would give you the most views and subscribers, it is easier than trying to get popular off of documentary videos you don't enjoy making, however. And it doesn't even have to be lazy content half the time. You can put your own personality into the mix and add your own charm into your videos, and it would help you stand out amongst the other channels you are competing against. But what about if you're already popular on YouTube? Maybe I'm the wrong person to talk about this, since I have around 600 subscribers on a dead channel when recording this, but I can imagine the stress that could come with getting popular on YouTube. Imposter syndrome is a common thing when it comes to content creators, and it is essentially when someone feels like they don't deserve the success they've gotten and feel like frauds. And I absolutely see where they're coming from. Although I am not popular at all, I feel like I'd be in the same position if I was a big YouTuber. It could be super stressful being super popular and wondering if what you are making is good enough for your audience. And I feel like anyone would begin to feel like they weren't good enough. but I don't feel like anyone should let this weigh them down severely. After all, if you weigh yourself down instead of working on your craft, the feeling will most likely only get worse. A similar issue that could come with being popular on YouTube is content creators feeling like they're not able to live up to their fan base's expectations content-wise. If you make a video that blows up and is well received, it can be very hard to come out with something later that you feel like lives up to that video. And your standards can start to get set ridiculously high to the point where you don't feel like anything you make afterwards is good enough. I can relate, as although I am proud of every video I make, whenever I'm making videos, and this one is no exception, I feel like it never lives up to the last one. Well, until it is released anyways. But I think this issue is mainly with me setting too high of expectations. If you aren't having fun making content and are just worrying about whether your video will live up to your last one, that can be very stressful and can burn you out very easily. I'd say that you shouldn't worry about this too much and try to make a product that you enjoy, no matter if it was as good as your last video was or not. The last point that I would like to make is about the internet itself. On any social media platform, there will be people that try to drag you down and hate on you for no apparent reason. It's literally impossible to not have this happen to you if you are a content creator, and it is very disheartening to see any hateful comments. But my advice would be just to ignore these entirely, and don't block them out from your comment section unless it's some really disgusting shit. That just gives people more ammo to use against you. Harassment from people that hate you is also something that could come with you making videos. This can be anything from death threats to even something as serious as doxing. And my suggestion would be to block these people and to get off of social media for a while if it gets too severe. But you also shouldn't confuse criticism with downright hate against you. Whether you want to take criticism and improve your content with it or not is your prerogative, but constructive criticism is not hate. If you are being called out for something that is fucked up and call everyone rightfully criticizing you haters, that will just make the criticism even worse and will make more people go after you. Although I will say that sometimes the critiques in question are just hilarious and not worth taking seriously.
Thanks for this video. Like, bro, kids in Africa have to kill each other to fucking survive. You're out.
Wait a minute. Kids in Africa have to kill each other to survive.
Anyways, if you like this video and want to see more like it, check out the other videos on my channel. Some more content will be coming soon that I'm really excited about, and I hope you guys will like it. And remember,
frog lives fucking matter.
It seems like with every passing day, there are more and more grooming and pedophilia accusations coming out, with some being accurate and some just being completely false. Over time, it has become complicated to verify whether allegations are true and false due to the amount of false accusations that have plagued the internet. False allegations themselves are a very common thing nowadays on YouTube. I mean, look at Slazo, ProJared, or if you're in the smaller commentary community, Elucid. And in a way, these incidents have helped us look at allegations in a new light and not just jump on the creators being accused. But sometimes, a situation can be too complicated to ever get an answer either way. And I feel like that's what we're dealing with concerning the Pyrocynical allegations. If you were living under a rock from October to December of last year, you might be unaware that Pyro was accused of grooming a 15-year-old boy when he himself was 19. Unlike what most people would tell you, this isn't an open and shut case. There's no winning here. Both sides fucked up and the entire situation was handled horribly. I plan to cover all of this in this video, but before we begin, I'd like to ask that you'd please watch the entire video all the way through and come to your own conclusions about the video and the situation itself. Thanks, and now to the video.
I'm going to use this video to address the allegations made against me.
Recently, Pyrocynical released a video addressing these allegations with a Google Doc I created.
This section of the video is going to be reiterating some of the stuff I said about the allegations in commentary, two sides of the same coin. So if you've already seen that video and don't want to hear me repeat myself essentially, just go to this timestamp. In October of last year, Ivory Rasmus posted a tweet accusing Pyro of being a groomer. People were skeptical, especially since whenever Ivory first posted the tweet, he did not have any hard evidence to support what he was saying. And don't get me wrong, it's good to be skeptical, but many people were doing more than just simply being careful while covering these allegations. Videos started coming out claiming that Pyro was innocent and that Ivory was a clout chaser. Keep in mind that this was before Pyro even said anything. Jumping on allegations and condemning someone before hearing both sides of the story is bad. I think we can all agree with that. But it is also bad to immediately shit on the person making the accusations without, well, hearing both sides of the story. Pyro made his Reddit response afterwards, which, would you guess, brought more hate to Ivory. But then Turkey Tom made videos which completely flipped the narrative against Pyro. And the commentators making videos about the situation immediately changed sides, with them now being against Pyro. Now, I'm not saying that people can't change their opinion about something. However, if you were all for one side despite some new information coming out and completely flip once the popular opinion changes, then I'm sorry, but that just seems very fake. It's like these commentators only cared about not getting backlash more than actually getting the story right. And what do you know, whatever Pyro responded to the allegations with a video, public opinion shifted again, and so did these commentators. And this is one of the biggest problems when it comes to people covering allegations in general. Almost every single time new allegations pop up, commentators end up making videos on it, go with the popular opinion, and either bash or defend someone instead of waiting until both sides come out, and when all the relevant information is released. They don't keep their biases to the side when making these videos either. Jumping on trending topics to get views is nothing new on YouTube. Commentators have been doing it for years and usually it isn't an issue. But there are other ways to do this than potentially messing up an allegation. I'd rather see more videos on Dream come out, because the videos themselves may not have much substance, but I'd rather see that than an uninformed video on accusations that will become irrelevant once time goes on. One of the main examples of this is Prisonmate Luke, but I'll let Degenerate handle talking about that.
What's up, fags? It's your favorite domestic terrorist coming back at you again with another mash. Alright, enough beating around the bush. You know why I'm here. Prisonmate Luke and his utter autism regarding the Pyrocynical situation. And yes, since this has been talked about a number of times before, I'm going to make this as short and sweet as possible. During the Pyrocynical drama, Prisonmate Luke constantly shifted from position to position over the course of the 3 videos he made on it, 2 of which have been either privated or deleted. Now, let me make this clear. There is nothing wrong with changing your opinion based on new information coming to light. However, there is an issue with making hard blanket statements and constantly having to walk them back due to just how outlandish said statements are. If you couldn't tell, Prisonmate Luke is the latter. Like, dude, I know you're one of those daily upload types of commentators, but come on, there's such a thing as not commenting on a situation until all information is present. Like, you went from saying shit like this,
and you turned out to be what a lot of people were calling you from the start. A clout chaser trying to ruin someone's career on YouTube, let alone on the internet, for attention.
To saying shit like this after facing backlash.
Whether Pyro does respond to everything, or just pulls the mini lad and ignores it for as long as he can, is still up in the air.
And after that, you ended up apologizing. Y'all see my issue? He just charges in head first with his retarded opinions and makes a fool out of himself because of it. But hey, while constantly having to retract your statements because of your own sheer stupidity is pretty bad, there are still worse things you could do.
To deconstruct Turkey Tom's videos, you have to understand what type of psychological tools that he uses. Full disclosure, I am a psychology minor in progress, and
well, there's definitely a number of things I could bring up in reference to this fat fuck. Not worth the effort. So anyways, to summarize, Prisonmate Luke sucks, and frog lives will never matter.
A good place to start when picking apart these allegations is Ivory's poor handling of everything from the beginning. To start off, Pyro was accused of grooming a 15-year-old while he was 19, and that he knew Ivory's age while everything was going on. When Ivory was questioned on whether this was grooming or not in an interview with Tommy C, he could not explain how Pyro groomed him.
How were you groomed? Because you don't need to be groomed for this to be wrong. I mean, is it really fair that you use the word grooming And if that's true, if you feel that's true, where was this going?
I don't know. I was in a call with my friend when I like typed it out, and I typed like, I remember I typed that and asked like, is that okay?
Because it reads more like a YouTube like thumbnail. Do you honestly believe? Did you not understand the definition of the word?
I feel like it was like forcing or like manipulating a child into a like sexual situation.
Okay.
This is a big problem for obvious reasons. If you are going to come out with allegations like this, you have to make sure that you are describing what happened, well, correctly. Calling someone a groomer without even knowing what the word means is just reckless, as you could potentially be ruining someone's career based off of something they didn't even do. This is an issue I also have with the CallMeCarson allegations, and while these situations aren't exactly comparable, people had misused the word grooming when describing what Carson did as well. Another issue I had with these allegations was the evidence. Whenever these allegations first came out, Ivory didn't have any evidence to back up his statements, and whenever he finally did release evidence, he only had screenshots, and also messed up getting Pyro's Discord ID, leading people to believe that Ivory faked the whole thing. While Ivory did eventually release some solid evidence, including some horrible messages sent to him from Pyro's girlfriend, this stuff should have been out initially. It would have made his case look a lot stronger and would have made it harder for people to entirely discredit the allegations instead of just simply staying neutral. The final issue I have, which is the most controversial topic regarding this situation, is that Ivory could not prove that Pyro for sure knew his age. While there were screenshots of Ivory sending Pyro his Twitter, which had his age in a bio, and a message where he said, "Not only am I a minor," these don't fully prove that Pyro knew his age while the role-playing was going on. I have no doubt that Pyro knew Ivory's age after this shit went on and still remained in contact with him, but we need something more damning in order to come to a conclusion. The closest thing to proof was Ivory's conversations with Pyro's girlfriend from 2017, and even then, you could just chalk this up to Pyro and his girlfriend not being very close when the situation happened, as they only started dating in 2019. 2 years after this. But there were also people in the community that said that Ivory's age was well known, which is why I'm on the fence here. At this point, I don't think you can exactly prove that Pyro did or didn't know Ivory's age. What I can say is that Pyro should have 100% asked Ivory how old he was, and should have known better when participating in a sexual furry roleplay with some random Discord user. This is self-admitted by Pyro, by the way. I don't blame anyone for being on either side, but innocent until proven guilty should always be your mindset, and I don't believe people should have jumped on the Pyro story the way they did. This situation is too complicated to get a clear answer though, at least to me personally. This section was pretty hard to make, because I like Tom, take massive inspiration from him, and don't think he had any malicious intent. What I can say is that I did like how he didn't back down and change his opinion in favor of the popular one, despite getting loads of hate. But what I didn't like is how he handled the situation as a whole. My first issue is the most glaring mistake he made, specifically in his Google document, where he compared Pyrocynical to red kiwis, someone who was actually a predator, and got away with the situation by saying he shouldn't have trusted the girl he was talking to. Pyrocynical was doing sexual furry roleplays with someone that he may or may not have known the age of. These situations aren't exactly comparable, and while Pyro's case is in the gray area morally, Red Kiwis is undoubtedly a fucking predator. Comparisons like this can make a situation look worse than what it actually is, and only causes more harm than good if it isn't accurate. If anything, this shit is just careless. It's also important to note, however, that Tom has admitted to being wrong concerning the Red Kiwi situation, so I'm not going to push it too hard, but it was definitely a problem. My second issue comes to Tom jumping on the allegations. Whenever covering the allegations initially, Tom talked about the commentators jumping on the story and shitting on Ivory without proof of Pyro being innocent. While Tom was definitely justified in giving out this criticism, he couldn't help but do something similar himself. To this day, we have never been given 100% proof that Pyro did know Ivory's age, but Tom, wanting to defend Ivory and set the story straight, jumped on the allegations and claimed that Pyro clearly knew Ivory's age, and that it was impossible for him not to have known. It's just impossible not to pull any parallels between his critiques of the commentary community and what he did here. And what Tom did here wasn't the greatest decision, to say the least. Waiting until every bit of information comes out in a situation is the best route when it comes to dealing with allegations like this. And with the Pyro thing, the evidence is extremely circumstantial, with most of it leading me to believe that Pyro knew Ivory's age when they were 16, but not when they were 15. I agree that Ivory shouldn't have been bashed to oblivion by Pyro's fans, but claiming that Pyro lied with only a slight amount of evidence to support your point is just stupid. The last point that I want to make is about a situation where Pyro wanted to fly Ivory out to a YouTuber event.
Even if he lied, which can't be proven, a 20-year-old guy flying a 16-year-old boy out to fuck him in England. I don't care what the lie is. Most people find that disgusting, and that's why Pyro's losing.
While I do find it a bit weird that Pyro was trying to fly out someone that he mainly did sexual furry roleplays with, there's no proof that Pyro was flying out Ivory to have sex with him, and even Ivory admits that he never got that impression from Pyro.
When he invited you, was there any kind of indication that it was sort of a date in any way? That there would be a wink-wink, date-like act with sexual interaction? Did he give you that idea at all?
He didn't, like, if he was, I didn't pick up on it.
You can call it weird and sketchy all you want, especially with the fake ID message, but it does not prove that Pyro had any intention to do sexual shit with Ivory. It's definitely a reach for sure, and why this point got brought up at all still blows my mind, as all you can really do is speculate about what was going to happen. Now, that's basically all I have to say about Tom. To summarize what I said, do I think he fucked up? Yes, but I don't think he was being malicious. Moving on. I'm gonna start this off by saying that most of my problems in this section are mostly subjective, so please just take this with a grain of salt. If you've been watching this video up to this point, you might think that I'm gonna praise Pyro for how he handled the entire situation, but I'm not gonna do that. Like Tom, there were a lot of things to criticize Pyro for in this situation, besides the obvious shit with Ivory, which I've already covered in this video. To start off, I want to go back to his Reddit response, as Pyro vehemently defended this in his response video. To sum up my thoughts, it wasn't very good. It didn't prove much other than his testimony, and used evidence that wasn't concrete about shit that Ivory had done before. Not to mention the fact that he starts off the document by saying that the allegations are 100% false, but then admits later that there is some truth to this. No, it wasn't grooming, and it was very irresponsible for Ivory to say that it was, but that doesn't make the allegations 100% false. Another point I had an issue with was this. Pyro said that after Ivory alleged that he groomed him, an individual then reached out to him to apologize for any hurt he may have caused him, to which Ivory responded with, "No, you're fine, I don't care." Pyro asked why Ivory didn't care in this instance, yet wanted the character assassinate himself on social media. But Pyro is a public figure online. It makes sense that Ivory would want to go after him instead of someone that nobody knows, because Pyro has a large platform and could try and do this with other underage people in the future, assuming what Ivory is saying is true. This line also insinuates that Ivory made this information public because he was a clout chaser, which isn't a good thing to say in general. It can make your audience go after someone because they are a quote-unquote clout chaser. And while that obviously wasn't Pyro's intention to get Ivory attacked, I definitely do think he should have worded things better. Moving on, after Turkey Tom made his Google document, it prompted a response from Pyro in video form, which is admittedly much better than his Reddit post. It points out inconsistencies in Tom's document and pokes holes in many of the things that Tom had tried to claim, but there were still a lot of issues with the video, which I will cover here. My first issue comes down to Pyro basically saying that there was nothing actually sexual about the role-playing he did with Ivory, which I just flat out disagree with. From looking at the messages between the two, at least in my mind, there is no doubt that this shit was sexual roleplay. If you want to argue that this shit is just Pyro having a fat furry fetish and nothing more, you might forget that fetishes are inherently sexual. It doesn't take away from my point here. Now, this doesn't make what Pyro did look significantly worse, which is why I was confused on why he would downplay this, but it could be a agree to disagree issue at the end of the day, and I'm not gonna push it too hard. My second issue is that Pyro stated that there was no middle ground in the controversy, and that people would either call Ivory a clout chaser or would say that Pyro was guilty of everything. Now, this is a fair point, don't get me wrong, but he shouldn't be the one to be saying it. As in his Reddit post, which he heavily defends in this video, he basically insinuated that Ivory was clout chasing. People were calling Ivory a clout chaser before this. I'm not saying it was directly caused by Pyro, but you have to admit that this shit is at the very least hypocritical. My last issue is with the overall tone of the video. Pyro comes off as very aggressive, and I get why he would be if he was being falsely accused, but I don't believe this is the best way to get people on your side, although it didn't really matter in this case as this video was received more than positively. The best example on how to get a response video right is Slazo's My Side. He was accused of rape, so he had every reason to be angry, but he wasn't. Or at least he didn't present himself in that way. Slazo's video should be a model for how to make a response video, and is one of the best I've seen on YouTube. Now, that's basically all the issues I had with Pyro's responses. Overall, I think his response video was much better, but he did a horrible job defending himself in his Reddit post. Moving on. To end this video off, I want to discuss the CallMeCarson allegations. You might be thinking, well, DeadMemeFrog, what the fuck does this have to do with Pyrocynical? And I'm about to explain why. In Carson's own situation, he was accused of grooming a 17-year-old when he was 19 and abusing a power dynamic to pressure a girl to get nudes. Pyro did something that I'd argue is either on the same level or worse than Carson. He did sexual furry roleplays with random people on the internet without verifying their ages. That shit is incredibly irresponsible. And the fact that Carson got so much shit, but Pyro was left unscathed is just wrong. I'm not advocating for Pyro to get hate here, by the way, but there is a double standard here. Why completely ignore Pyro, but condemn Carson for what is at the most irresponsible, and something that is a nothing burger? At least be consistent with the shit that you are mad about. Also, always be neutral when it comes to these allegations. Don't lambaste either side of the story until you at the very least have both sides of the story, or enough evidence for everything that we consider true. Ivory was shit on to oblivion before Pyro even came out with his side, with tons of people calling his story fake, which just isn't right. That's not how you treat potential victims. I'm not asking people to side with the victim, but what I am asking is not to side with your favorite creator just due to bias. And that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like my content. Follow my Twitter too, and remember,
Frog Lives Matter. #FLM.
Before I get into this video, I want to say that I'm sorry for not uploading for 4 months. I also want to say that I was sick while recording this, so if I sound off, that's why. So yeah, sorry about that. Anyways, I doubt that I'd have to explain what cancel culture is. It's a plague that has affected every corner of the internet for the past few years, and it's becoming more and more common every day. Sometimes it's for minor problems, like someone making a slightly offensive comment, or some shit they said years ago that they don't stand by today, and sometimes it can be super serious, like the case of Slazo, where he was being falsely accused of sexual assault, and most people ran with the story without getting his side. But whatever your opinion is aside, unless you believe that cancel culture doesn't exist, you can't deny its impact. So for this video, I'm going to be going over different cases of cancel culture throughout the years and the impact that it's had on the internet as a whole. But before we get further into this video, I want to ask that you would not hate or harass anyone mentioned in this video. I know this is a basic disclaimer and might seem unnecessary, but some people genuinely have to be told how to act decently on the internet for some reason. So thanks, and now to the video. I know stan culture has been talked about to death by many commentary channels, including myself, but like it or not, this is a major part of cancel culture. Now, stans themselves are mostly harmless. I do find it a bit questionable to base your entire social media on MCYT creators, K-pop stars, or anything like that, but it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. What I take issue with, however, is the culture surrounding it, which leads to a lot of issues. About 99% of stans are teenagers who are impressionable and look up to their favorite creators as role models of sorts. And whenever their image of their perfect role model is tainted slightly, whether it was something they said in the past, something they found offensive, or any sort of thing, it causes them to lash out. They'll start making tweets airing out their frustration under the guise of educating the creators of ignorance of an issue. It's absolutely fine to get offended by things. Everyone gets offended from time to time, even if you claim to have the thickest skin on earth. But when you are making tweet after tweet trying to cancel someone over something very minor that they did, that is a problem. And it's also a problem when content creators enable this type of behavior, and this isn't any more apparent than with Dream. Now, you might be confused by my statement there and think that Dream really had no part in causing this toxic shit. And you would be right, Dream never really directly encouraged this behavior, but I'd argue that he indirectly enabled it. For a while, whenever any one of his stans, or just anyone on Twitter in general, would say something remotely negative about him, he would apologize, and I believe that this was intentional. The first time that Dream was ever called out for something minor on Twitter, he justifiably defended himself on his private account, which caused some backlash from his fans. He then apologized fully the next day, basically taking back anything he said the day before.
I woke up and the first thing I see is people messaging me telling me to kill myself, and I was referencing, and I think that both Saptap and George, when I asked them, they thought the same exact thing. SpongeBob, when SpongeBob goes victory screech, and other times did other stuff like that. Again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody, and had I not woken up to people calling me a racist and that I don't deserve support and all stuff like that, I probably would have just replied to that original tweet and said, hey, I'm sorry for, offending you.
And every single time someone has called him out for something minor and Dream responded, it's always him immediately apologizing. He didn't want any backlash from his fans. This was clear after he backed down and took back what he said the first time after this shit happened. But him doing this also paints a sympathetic portrait of him that commentary YouTubers would run within videos. It's something that both paints him in a good light or as a victim of cancel culture, and it also makes his fans happy. But what Dream doesn't realize is that by doing this, he sets a bad precedent. By apologizing for every minor thing that Twitter stans would call him out for, he validates them, and unintentionally sets the standards very high for his fans, and maybe even the people around them. It's fine to be offended by something. Everyone has different morals and opinions, and we should accept that. But also, setting the standards this high for a content creator is not healthy. It makes it so that they have to walk on eggshells basically in order to please every one of their fans. That's basically all I have to say here, and before anyone asks, yes, this section was just an excuse to shit on Dream. Moving on. If you've been keeping up with the commentary community, you might have seen that T channels have become a target in the past few months, with many commentary channels making videos on them, and for good reason. Besides the fact that these channels make really shitty content, a lot of them make videos filled with misinformation and outlandish claims about their targets, with the most notable examples being the coverage of the Gabby Hanna and Eugene Ikuni situations, and I'm going to be focusing on the latter. To give some context, for anyone somehow unaware, Eugene Ikuni is a YouTuber that has an eating disorder. She's unhealthy and views herself as being overweight whenever it's the exact opposite. Her content doesn't center around her eating disorder, however. Instead, her channel is generally focused on fashion and makeup videos with some side stuff every now and then. Her channel is ultimately harmless. But in the past year or so, YouTubers have been advocating for Eugene Ikuni to be deplatformed from YouTube, with there even being a petition to get her removed from YouTube, which had received over 50,000 signatures before it was closed. The main goal they're apparently going for is trying to get her to go to rehab or some sort of mental health facility, but this is probably the worst way to go towards that goal. Even if you consider Eugenia only temporarily losing her platforms while she possibly gets help, her eating disorder is not going to go away. It's a constant struggle that she'll most likely have to deal with her entire life. It's not going to go away if she leaves and gets help for a few months. And I'd argue that her being deplatformed would do much more harm than good. For starters, YouTube is most likely one of her main sources of income at the moment. Having that stripped away from her could damage her mental health and her livelihood in general. It could also make her more insecure about her body and how she looks. Let's also keep in mind that Eugenia hasn't broken any community guidelines. She's not pro-Anna or promoting eating disorders. She's merely just existing on the platform. Yet this causes an uproar in the internet for some reason, which is how T channels like iNabber came into the picture. If you remember iNabber, it's most likely for the E-Boy situation, where he was fucked out of a group channel by his friends. This made most of the commentary community sympathize with him and go after iMalex and his friends, with iNabber's behavior being mostly ignored. When the Eugenia situation was getting bigger, iNabber made some videos on the topic that were horrible to say the least. To summarize the videos, his main point was that Eugenia was pro-Anna and her content was harmful to herself and others. But he also says that he doesn't want Eugenia to be deplatformed.
In today's video, I do want to cover the issue of me believing that Eugenia's channel is genuinely dangerous for Eugenia's Towers fans and for Eugenia and just a lot of people out there. But I also think that it is very hard to dismiss that Eugenia's channel isn't pro-Anna. I don't believe that Eugenia should be outright removed from YouTube, but I do think that she needs to fully acknowledge that these thumbnails and her titles and her YouTube channel in general can cause dangers.
Which is difficult to believe. Any content encouraging or promoting eating disorders is against the YouTube guidelines. It's pointless to try and claim that you're trying to help her and don't want her taken down when you're claiming that her content is supposedly pro-Anna. It's like saying that you don't want someone arrested, but you then point out all the crimes they've committed. It makes no sense. And it makes even less sense when iNabber has a hard time explaining exactly why Eugenia's content is harmful. His most substantial point came from someone on Twitter he found, who apparently had their ED triggered by Eugenia's content. And look, I can sympathize with someone dealing with ED. Watching someone like Eugenia could trigger that, but watching literally anyone with an eating disorder could do that. The don't like, don't watch argument is something that is so overplayed and is usually used to dodge criticism, but it's definitely something that is applicable here. Eugenia's content has nothing to do with her eating disorder, as we have established already. It's not her fault that someone's ED is being triggered. She's just existing. iNabber and other channels like his are contributing to a problem. No matter how much they claim to care about her, their coverage of Eugenia Cooney puts a stigma on people with eating disorders in general. Shit like this can make anyone with an eating disorder scared or skeptical to start a YouTube channel, as channels like these could shit on them for merely existing. The Eugenia Cooney situation is blown out of proportion. She obviously needs help and nobody is denying that, but the only person that could help her is herself, and not people on the internet who think they know what they're talking about. Before I start off this section, I'd recommend watching both of Nicholas Diorio's Zaptai videos. They're really good and go way more in depth about the situation than I will here. Anyways, the situation was a confusing mess that occurred back in early 2017. Zaptai, an up-and-coming commentary YouTuber, was canceled for a mix of allegations, which were made public on his own podcast by his friends, where a lot of misinformation was spread. These allegations later made it to Twitter, with the main two accusations being that he was a sociopath and a pedophile, with him allegedly receiving nudes from underage girls. The main people involved in spreading these accusations were notably Elvis the Alien, Deodor Anthony, Bionic Pig, and I'm Alex, who completely distanced themselves from Zaptai after damaging his reputation. The most damning allegation that came out against Zaptai was that he was allegedly sexting a 16-year-old at the age of 20. Deodor Anthony and I'm Alex especially had a hand in this case, as they were also pushing the narrative that Zaptai sent and received nudes from the girl that he was talking to. The situation would be criticized, most notably by Tommy C and VWQ, now known as Danarchy, but most people were willing to accept that Zaptai was a sociopath and pedophile. And this was a problem, as the situation was much more nuanced than what it was made out to be back in 2017. Zaptai made some mistakes and may not have been exactly a good person at the time, but he did not deserve to have his platform taken away from him, or at the very least, people should have criticized him for what he actually did instead of rumors and unconfirmed allegations. This situation can also be compared to the CallMeCarson situation. Carson's friends came out with allegations that he was sexting minors, which turned out just to be Carson sexting a 17-year-old when he was 19, which isn't a big deal. You can make a point about the power dynamic there, as Carson had over 1 million subs when this happened, and he was talking to a fan. It wasn't grooming or pedophilia like people were claiming though. But what makes the Carson situation the most similar to the Zaptai situation, in my opinion, is how Carson's friends handled his allegations. His friends went on Drama Alert for an interview to talk about the allegations, all while not knowing the girl's age. After the girl made a public statement on Twitter, Carson's friends made statements against him. Jay Schlatt made a confusing video that added more questions than answers. Slimesicle claimed that he called the FBI on Carson, despite still interacting with him after he was told about Carson supposedly sexting minors. And Noah Hugbox's statements on the situation have been confusing in general. And overall, the situation has not been handled well at all. It's a perfect parallel to what happened with Zaptai. His friends made a podcast filled with unconfirmed allegations against him and decided to cut ties after the quote-unquote hard evidence came out. Zaptai came out with a statement giving a lot more clarity to the situation and the things being said about him, and his friends doubled down. Both of these situations were handled terribly and eclipsed his reputation to the people accused, which is sad to see. If you were going to cancel someone, the things they did should either be morally fucked, illegal, or enough to consider considering them a danger to the platform, and neither of these cases were exactly that. You could argue that both of them did shitty things, sure, but it's not enough to be deplatformed. Now, if I was making this video a year ago, I would talk about how Zaptai would never come back and how the commentary community from 2017 basically ruined his career. But this situation does have a good ending to it. In December of 2020, Zaptai was interviewed by Nicholas Diorio, where he talked about the allegations, the misinformation behind it, and how the situation affected him. He also mentioned in this interview that he sometimes thought about coming back, but never went through with this. At the time of this interview, people were just surprised that he was talking to Nick, as it seemed like he left the internet for lack of a better term, and they didn't expect him to come back with new videos. But he eventually did. On September 15th, 2021, he posted a teaser trailer for a new video he was working on, and the reaction to it was overwhelmingly positive, to the point where his new channel, where he was going by the name Big B, gained over 1,000 subscribers before the video even came out. And when the video did eventually release, he was met with even more support. I'm glad that he was able to come back to the internet and make videos again with little to no backlash. He was cancelled for flimsy at best allegations that had no confirmation or verifiable proof, as well as being fucked over by his friends and the commentary community in general. They threw him under the bus essentially, and I'm glad that he's been able to come back from that. Obviously, not all the damage can be undone from back then. He was a rising commentary channel that would most likely be above 1 million subscribers today had the situation not happened. But it's good that he's been able to come back with a fresh start. Moving on. If you've watched my channel at all, you would know that the CallMeCarson situation is something that has bothered me for a while. Hell, my most popular video is on the situation, my thoughts on it, and criticisms for everyone involved. But to sum it up in one sentence, it is a poorly handled situation that perfectly describes modern cancel culture. For those who aren't familiar with what happened, Carson was exposed in early January for sexting minors. This information was first brought to Drama Alert, where Travis and Noah Hugbox, both former friends of Carson, explained that in early 2020, they were told by him that he was sexting minors. The Drama Alert interview fails to include many details, including the ages of Carson and the victim at the time, how many people he did this with, if Carson was continuing his line of behavior, and other details that could have been important. A few hours after the initial Drama Alert episode, though, the victim of Carson came out with her experience, where it was revealed that she was 17 and Carson was 19 during their interactions. Carson's friends then released statements against him and cut ties, but their stories aren't exactly consistent. Jay Schlatt made a video statement that caused me to have several more questions than answers. For one, Schlatt stated that he cut contact with Carson after he was given reason to believe that Carson was continuing his behavior. But when Travis and Noah went to Drama Alert, they didn't know if Carson was continuing this behavior. In fact, they didn't even know the girl's age.
Did he tell you how old they were?
At the time, no.
Does anyone know if Carson is still doing this with his fans?
No idea.
Nope, I just have no idea. I haven't talked to him in so long.
It seemed like the only reason they didn't come out sooner is that they were afraid of what could happen due to Carson's influence. This makes me question the motive behind making the Carson allegations public. It also doesn't help that Slimesicle claimed that he filed a tip with the FBI after finding out what Carson did in March of 2020. Yet he didn't stop interacting with him until June. In fact, he was in a video of Carson's from August of 2020. But overall, this situation was handled very poorly. Carson's friends should have planned things out better and came out with more evidence if they wanted to make a solid case. Not like it mattered to the public though. After these allegations surfaced, Carson lost over 300,000 subscribers on his main channel, with all of Twitter going after him for this, which is a problem. It's been almost a year since everything occurred, and we still don't know the full extent of the situation. We don't know how many girls there could have been, how long Carson had been continuing this behavior, or any details other than the first victim. We don't have anything other than word of mouth, from people that we don't even know are trustworthy. You might think that just because they're your favorite YouTubers and haven't done anything wrong to your knowledge that they wouldn't lie or fuck up in situations like this. But you can't form your entire opinion on what they claim happened, and this has been proven time and time and again by past events. Slazo, a commentary YouTuber, was accused of sexually assaulting his girlfriend, and his friends backed these allegations, only for these same allegations to be proven false once Slazo made his response video. These guys weren't Discord degenerates that nobody knew either. They were public figures that people had trusted and completely failed. I'm not saying that Carson is like Slazo. From what we do know, he did sex to the 17-year-old while he was 19. This has been confirmed by him and his friends. We do not know if this behavior continued, however, and we are still not sure of the true motive of making these allegations public. My main point is that we shouldn't immediately trust what people say online. If we want serious allegations like this to be confirmed, we should be provided with hard evidence that ties the story together. We shouldn't just take it at face value, which is what most of Twitter did. The last thing I want to talk about is Carson's response, which I found to be quite lacking. On August 25th, Carson released Moving Forward, which was essentially him trying to move past the drama and do his own thing again. And that's good and all, but there were a lot of things that people were confused on that could have been cleared up with a proper response. I understand that he wanted to move on with the drama, and I'm glad he's been able to come back, though with dwindling view counts. But I really do feel like he should have addressed some of the allegations and made things straight. But overall, if you personally want to stop supporting Carson, that is okay. I'm not gonna force you at gunpoint to sub to his channel or anything. But people should really take a second to look at the situation, everything that went on, and maybe get a new perspective. Hell, don't even form an opinion off of what I've said. Research the situation for yourself and come to your own conclusions. But for now, that's my take on it. Moving on. For this section of the video, I want to answer a question that I've been asking myself for a while. Can cancel culture kill a channel? And, well, the answer is complicated, as it can go both ways. Some people genuinely can have their careers ruined despite trying to come back time and time again, while some have thrived and recovered from the shit that has been thrown at them. But I'm gonna say that yes, cancel culture can kill a channel. You'll most likely not lose your career from some 15-year-old girl on Twitter calling you out for saying the N-word 10 years ago. But if you were accused of some serious allegations and people run with it, your career can quickly be ruined, whether you're guilty or not. It is a problem, and people pretending like it isn't a problem are part of why it's an issue. So yeah, sorry for not uploading for 6 months, by the way. I got bored of making videos for a while, with real life shit also getting in the way. I'm back now, however, and a new video should be coming out by late February, though anyone who's watched my content before knows that I'm very inconsistent when it comes to YouTube. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks for sticking with me through that time. Thanks for watching. Follow my Twitter at DeadMemeFrog, and Frog Lives Matter. Blah blah blah, I haven't uploaded in a while. Let's get into the video. Over the past few months, I've been seeing a growing sentiment that the commentary community is dead or dying. None of us can see the future, and I have no idea what it holds, especially as the YouTube guidelines get more and more strict. We might be off the platform in a few years for all we know. But as it stands now, the community is not dead. In fact, it's far from it. And here's why I believe that. I've seen a lot of arguments regarding this that boil down to the amount of commentators blowing up. In the past 2 years, there were a lot of YouTubers that got big off commentary and were able to establish loyal followings for themselves. In 2020, it was channels like John Swan and Diesel Patches. In 2021, it was channels like Poncho, Cordwit, Dr. Skipper, and a ton of gameplay commentators that got big off milking Dream Drama. But in 2022, who's getting big now? There does seem to be a lack of channels blowing up in the community and establishing followings. But there's one issue with this. 2020 and 2021 were two of the biggest years for commentary in recent memory. Just because we're not doing as good as we were doesn't mean the community is dying. And it's not like there were no channels blowing up at all. For example, Turkey Tom started uploading commentary videos on his second channel Tom Dark and grew rapidly off of those. Larix was a commentator that was growing bigger until he left the community, and is now seen in a not so positive light due to shit that went on that I won't mention here. And Dumpy ended up almost tripling his audience after talking about the Jellybean drama and is still growing consistently to this day. But all of these people already had pre-established audiences before gaining more popularity. What about smaller YouTubers? Well, Toastify and my friend Wacky TV both had a significant gain in subs and overall viewership. Sure, there were more people growing last year in 2020, but does that really matter? I don't think the amount of people gaining success in a genre determines whether we're dying or not. So what else can have an effect? Commentary creators generally rely on YouTube drama, or just a popular topic in general, to make their videos, as it will get them views. This doesn't apply to everyone, but it applies to a good portion of everyone in the community. If there is a popular situation going on, commentary channels will go ahead and make videos covering the topic and give their opinion on what's going on. So if there's always drama, there's always going to be something for them to talk about. And this is why I believe that commentary won't die as long as we're still allowed to be on the platform. Drama is something that will never cease to exist as far as the YouTube community is concerned. There will always be either people arguing with each other, someone getting called out for scummy actions, or just general disagreements that will cause drama in the community. And because of that, there's always going to be something for commentators to talk about. For example, 2020 was full of drama, including the iDub simp drama, H3H3 versus Keemstar, Leafy getting terminated, and a lot more. And these situations were being talked about by almost every commentary channel at the time, as they would give you easy views. It was easily one of the best times to become a YouTube commentator. If you want to argue nowadays that there's less to talk about, I wouldn't disagree, but you'd also be forgetting about the Jelly Bean situation, which was one of the biggest YouTube dramas this year. That situation was directly started because the commentary of YouTubers making videos on her, and her clones, which is how channels like The Beak and Dumpy blew up recently. Whatever opinions you have of that situation aside, you cannot deny the impact the community had. So using the quote-unquote lack of drama as an argument for the community dying falls flat on its face. But what about the community itself? Every argument I've tackled in this video have been mainly about commentary as a genre and not the community specifically. I can't exactly disprove any argument about the community itself as it's mainly opinion based, so take what I say next with a grain of salt. But anyways, there's been a growing sentiment that the community itself has become way worse than it used to be. And to be honest, I can't exactly blame people for this. In fact, I actually agree. For some context, I joined the community around early 2020. Back then, although there were people who were annoying and obnoxious, it was actually chill for the most part. Most of the people I talked to online are people I met back then, and I could not appreciate them more. It might just be nostalgia blinding me from the bad sides, but I'd rather the community be like what it was back then than what it is now. I also don't see any reason to keep complaining about it though. I'm not gonna leave the community, and most of the people constantly saying that they're gonna leave on Twitter whenever literally fucking anything goes on aren't going to either. And whether the community is getting more toxic or not, that doesn't mean that it's dying, nor does it say anything about commentary as a genre. As long as we're able to stay on the platform with no issues, as long as there is some form of drama or trending topics, we will continue to exist. It may become stagnated for a while, but that can happen with literally any fucking genre. It doesn't mean that we're dying necessarily. So yeah, this was a short video. I would have come back with something longer, but this was something that had been on my mind for a little bit and I wanted to put my thoughts on it. I have another video in the works as I'm scripting this one, so it should be out soon after, but I'm never good with promises when it comes to this kind of thing, so who knows. I have a podcast with Wacky TV and Cammy that will be linked in the description if you want to check that out, along with all of my other accounts too. And with that being said, I'm done with this video. Oh yeah, one last thing. Frog lives still fucking matter. The CallMeCarson situation is something that has confused me for some time now. He went from one of the most respected gaming YouTubers on the platform to one of the most hated within a few months, due to mostly unproven allegations. For some context, in early January 2021, Carson was accused of sexting minors and getting nudes from them, with the only confirmed allegation being one where the ages were 17 to 19 while the situation was happening. From the confusing responses from his friends to the overall lack of information regarding what he actually did, everything about the situation was a clusterfuck of timelines and narratives that don't line up. And nothing about it was handled well at all, which is why I'm making this video. But you might be wondering why I'm doing this now. It's been almost 2 years since everything went down, with Carson returning and things seemingly going back to normal, albeit with Carson's viewership slowly dying off. And I've already covered this situation twice in videos before. So why am I suddenly coming back to this topic? Well, one of his former friends, Noah Hugbox, has come out with a twit longer accusing Carson of multiple things without evidence or proof. So I wanted to go over that, as well as to go over everything else that happened in a better way than my previous 2 videos. So with that out of the way, let's get into the video. This section is essentially a TLDR for the people who aren't exactly super familiar with the situation, as well as my criticisms of what went on. So if you want to skip this segment, which I wouldn't blame you for, just go to this timestamp. Anyways. On January 4th, 2021, some of Carson's former friends, Noah Hugbox and Travis, came on the Drama Alert, where they spoke about the allegations of Carson allegedly sexting underage girls.
Guys, what happened? How did this all come about?
One day in March, he called me. And I picked up the phone and he was basically like, I have to tell you something. And then he told me that he sexted underage girls, and I think that he said that they were fans.
Did he tell you how old they were?
At the time, no.
At the end of the day, you guys do kind of have proof, right?
I mean, yeah, that he told all of us at the same time. I mean, I'm sure that when this is posted, none of them are going to deny that this is the truth because, I mean, they were there. I don't think they have any real reason to lie.
Does anyone know if Carson is still doing this with his fans?
No idea.
Nope.
Every time this interview is talked about, I always see people putting the blame on the Keemstar for there not being much information, but that shouldn't be blamed on Keem. He did everything he needed to for the interview. He got two of Carson's friends to talk about the allegations since they would be credible sources, and asked the proper questions to get the information out. I don't blame him at all for the interview, but I do blame Travis and Noah. They came into this interview super unprepared. All they knew was that Carson told them in March of 2020 that he sexted minors. They did not know when he was doing this, the age gaps, or if he was still doing this up until the time of the interview. All of which is important information that they should have had. They're obviously more credible than the average person since they were close with Carson and would know more behind the scenes, but they couldn't even give basic details other than the bare minimum. This interview did not solidify that Carson was a predator, and instead brought a ton of unneeded speculation about what happened. Why should anyone believe someone if they don't have any evidence, let alone the basic essential details of a story? What they were saying could only be verified if a victim of Carson came out with their story, which, lucky for them, did end up happening. A few hours after the initial Drama Alert episode, someone came out with their story about Carson, describing him as a pedophile and a groomer. And let me just get this out of the way, Carson is not a pedophile. The victim was 17 and he was 19. That's only a 2-year age gap. Anyone arguing that Carson is a pedophile for this is just flat out wrong. Which brings me to the grooming accusation, which I just flat out disagree with. Was Carson weird in the DMs between him and his accuser? Yes, absolutely. But anybody's weird sexing DMs being leaked would look weird. From what I saw, there was no manipulation in the screenshots. The only thing I could see that people could still pin on Carson is that he had gotten nudes from the girl he was talking to. This is illegal, I'm not denying that, but at worst, this is irresponsible, considering that Carson was only 2 years older than the girl. There were other allegations that came out about Carson, but none of them had any substantial evidence to back them up, so I won't mention them here. So yeah, I don't think I need to say that people took this whole thing way too seriously, but what really muddied the waters around this situation is what Carson's former friends had said about it, which I'll go over here. Starting off with Jay Schlatt, who made a video responding to the entire thing. My biggest problem with this video is the amount of information that he hints at but doesn't directly talk about. He starts off the video being clear about everything, mentioning that Carson had sexted a 17-year-old when he was 19.
Around late February, early March, Carson told the Lunch Club guys, as well as a bunch of close friends of his at the time, that he had been sexting his fans. He explained that he had exchanged photos with a 17-year-old while he was 19, and that he was done with it. He hadn't done it in months.
But then he just starts being vague for no fucking reason and says that Carson wasn't improving where he should have been.
But a few weeks ago, I started having some conversations with some of Carson's closest friends, including his former roommates. And in my discussions with them, I heard some things that suggested that Carson wasn't improving in the areas that he should have been.
There's no hard evidence for anything he says, it's just word of mouth. Not to mention that his video almost directly contradicts what Travis and Noah had said on Drama Alert. Jay Schlatt mentioned in this video that Carson told everyone he was sexting a 17-year-old at 19. Yet Noah and Travis somehow didn't know this information, which makes me question this entire narrative they're pushing here. Nothing is consistent, but the shit isn't even the worst response I've seen. Slimesicle made a tweet about the situation, where he claimed that as soon as he was told about what Carson was doing, he left Lunch Club and contacted the FBI with a tip about him. And I'm gonna be straight up here. I think he's lying. If what he was saying was true, he would have contacted the FBI around March of 2020 because that's when Carson told the Lunch Club about everything. But this doesn't exactly make sense, as he was still interacting with Carson after this, and still appearing in videos with him. I've heard the argument that Slime wouldn't want to start drama with Carson by unfollowing him or disassociating with him, but if he was so upset that he was willing to contact the fucking FBI, why would he still hang around with him? His response just doesn't make sense. There were some other responses by Carson's friends, including It's Joko, who was the only one who provided solid proof that the first allegation was true. But there's one person I want to focus on specifically, and that is Noah Hugbox. On August 25th, 2021, Carson would finally release a video addressing what went on. In the video, he doesn't exactly mention the situation. He explained that he wanted to move on and do his own thing, and also announce a year of charity, where his profits would go to different charities each month for a full year. And this was his way of turning a negative situation into something positive, which is nice, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like he should have addressed the allegations. There was so much confusion on what happened with them. Nothing was clear except for the 1719 allegation, which to this day is the only confirmed thing that Carson actually did. So it would have been great to hear his side of the situation and give his 2 cents, whether he was fully guilty, innocent, or anything in between. It would have been good just to hear anything at that point. That being said, I'm glad he's been able to come back. I just wish he could have been clear about what had happened. Anyways, after Carson came back, a Twitch VOD of an interview with Noah Hugbox was released, where he essentially talks about his friendship with Carson, and it was an interesting watch to say the least. It's good to hear about his experience, but he acts super arrogant and cocky throughout the entire thing and still never provides any evidence when it comes to Carson's allegations. This becomes a common theme throughout all of this. I have nothing much to say here, but I'll leave this one clip to show what I mean.
The dude looks me in the eyes and tells me that his problem with me the entire time was because, and I quote, he hates me because I'm a Chad.
I'm sorry, who the fuck's gonna believe this? But moving on from that, a full year had gone by since Carson came back and started making videos again. There wasn't much to talk about. Carson had started to take a massive dip in views or subs, and there was no new allegations that had come out, until a few days ago. On September 23rd, 2022, Noah Hugbox released a lengthy twitlonger, where he mainly talks about the Carson allegations in length, along with other things, including the Miskib situation. In general, I don't think this response is very good, for one simple reason: lack of evidence. There is not a single piece of evidence for any of the things that Noah talks about here, and this has been a problem throughout the entire Carson situation. When the people involved aren't being vague or super secretive, the things they do show have no evidence linked to it other than word of mouth. The only thing that has been definitively proven after almost 2 years was that he has sexted a 17-year-old at 19 and gotten nudes from her. If he really is a danger to the platform, this is the worst way to handle things, because they provided nothing concrete and left enough legroom for Carson to be able to get out of the situation. But with that being said, I'm gonna go over what I found to be the most interesting statements in a twitlonger, as it's too long for me to go over the entire thing in this video. The link will be in the description if you want to check it out yourself, but anyways, the first thing I want to talk about in Noah's twitlonger is this line specifically. Over the next several months, I started asking around as to what others had been told, and found that every single person was told an entirely different story as to how many girls he was contacting and what their ages were. This pushed me to do something, and I had actually gotten the entire group to agree to recording a video of each of us simply saying what we were told and uploading it directly to the Lunch Club channel. No baseless accusations, no clout chasing, just the truth. At the last moment, many pulled out of the video, because in Schlatt's words, he had too much to lose. Deja vu, it was never supposed to go through Keemstar. If we take this line as fact, then why wasn't this talked about on Drama Alert? This would have been an important detail to highlight, as it would have shown that Carson was not exactly consistent with his story, and could not get his information straight. You didn't have any evidence to provide for Drama Alert. You could have at least provided more details of the story. And I get that it's easy to say this stuff in hindsight, and Noah probably had a lot of pressure on him. However, that does not justify the little amount of information that was given to us. Anyways, later on in the twitlonger, Noah talks about Miskif and him having Carson on his stream. What he was really critical of was Carson's whole year of charity thing, and the first charity he was donating to was Alveus, which Miskif's girlfriend owned. In Noah's own words, he said, "It's not like she's giving money to people in need, she's playing with fucking birds." And I just find that a bit disrespectful. You can find it suspicious all you want that Carson's first month of charity was for Miskif's girlfriend, but animal sanctuaries are still good causes to give money to. Just because it's not something like helping children with cancer or some shit doesn't mean that it isn't a good cause. And lastly, I wanted to talk about how he compared the situation that happened with Miskif to what happened with Carson. For those who haven't exactly been in the loop, the Twitch streamer Miskif was exposed for essentially covering up a sexual assault committed by his close friend Crazy Slick. And since Noah saw this stuff happening, he decided to get this off his chest and talk about how the Carson situation was handled in a similar way. Earlier on in the twitlonger, Noah had talked about Carson's manager trying to cover up the things that Carson had done, which in theory is similar to what Miskif did, but there's one issue with this. It was essentially proven that Miskif was in fact covering up a sexual assault, but nothing nothing that Noah was saying can be proven definitively. All of what he is saying is word of mouth. It's not backed up by anyone else, and he doesn't have any evidence to prove his side, which is an issue I've had with pretty much all of his statements. But to sum up my thoughts entirely, Noah has handled everything concerning the Carson situation very poorly. He never has evidence to back up anything that he says, and every statement that comes out of him is just word of mouth. And that includes his twitlonger. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Noah here. Moving on. Whenever Carson came back to YouTube, he had gained back some subscribers, but then started bleeding again, and had a significant dip in viewers. And in the past year, nothing has really changed. Most people would blame this on his allegations and how they destroyed his career, but I don't think that was the reason that Carson's channels died. Don't get me wrong, his allegations completely ruined his reputation within the YouTube community, but if he had just released a response whenever the allegations initially came out, then continued uploading, he definitely would have taken a hit, but would still be popular. Him not uploading for about 7 to 8 months probably made most of his fanbase fade away. Not only that, but Carson's main type of content he was doing became less popular over time. Carson would mainly make Discord videos, which were popular around 2018 to 2020. But over time, this content became way less popular, and Carson came back to his main channel way too late to be able to salvage his viewer base. And don't get me wrong, his channels aren't doing bad per se, but it is definitely noticeable since this guy was at the top of YouTube just 2 years ago. And now, when people talk about him again, it's usually about this situation, and not because of his content. Kinda ironic because I'm making this video, but you know, it's different when I do it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. If I'm being honest, I have no idea when I'll upload next. Could be a week, a month, a year. I'm not really consistent with this stuff, but I appreciate people still sticking by me, even if it is just a small number of people. Oh yeah, one more thing. Hashtag FLM. Deji is without a doubt one of the most polarizing creators currently on YouTube. He's gotten into many controversies in his time on the website, with the most major being his beef with his brother KSI, which started with a fucking joke on a game show video.
Name a dead YouTube channel.
Deji. Oh, wow, that's family. That's family, bro.
I can't believe this year-long drama started with this, holy shit. And with the shit that Deji has done over the past couple of years, there are obviously a lot of people that don't like him, and will call him out of this bullshit. But his fan base greatly outnumbers these people, which can cause certain situations to get swept under the rug and never talked about again, which is where the topic we're talking about today comes in. There's been a significant issue that has been somewhat ignored by Deji's fans and the general public, and that is his subbotting situation. For some context, Deji was accused in 2020 of subbotting his subscribers to get to 10 million, with the accusations mostly being proven true despite what Deji's fans would tell you. And while I will go over the allegations here and why I believe they're legitimate, I am not going to go super in depth. This is mostly going to be talking about the aftermath of the situation, which is why I'm even making this in the first place. So with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Now, I don't exactly have a proper time frame for when everything happened, since some videos that were important to the situation were taken down, which we'll get into. But Deji made this infamous video responding to everything on May 17th, 2020, so I'm going to say that this occurred in May of that year. To sum up what Deji was initially accused of, Freeway Social, a subbotting site, came out with information that Deji was buying subs from their website, which they later tried to refund. Deji had initially made a response to everything, which was just straight up dog shit. He doesn't provide anything substantial to prove that the claims were fake. In fact, the only thing he showed at all was that the IP from the Freeway Social video apparently wasn't his. But let's be real here. This video is mainly noteworthy due to this clip.
I have no knowledge of any of this. This is so bizarre. My IQ level is dumb high, all right? I'm not trying to brag. My IQ level is 189. That is a very high IQ, okay?
Anyways, after this, the whole situation was mainly covered by the commentary YouTuber Cabos, who ripped Deji's response to shreds. He ended up showing compelling evidence that without a doubt proved that at the very least, Deji's channel was in fact subbotted to hit 10 million. The main pieces of evidence shown in the videos by Cabos were the emails connected to the Freeway Social accounts, and the PayPal accounts used for the transactions. The main email connected to the account was the same email as one of Deji's properties in his real estate business, and the recovery email for the accounts were confirmed to have belonged to Deji's parents. And the PayPal account used for the subs was linked to Deji's father specifically.
The IP you said wasn't yours. We linked to the city you lived in. The email that was used to buy the subs had Deji's mum's email as the recovery email. And we've now confirmed that property22 at btinternet.com is not a random email at all. It's a property Deji owned.
Even if you give Deji as much charitability as possible and assume that he didn't do it and it was someone trying to frame him, this would mean that the person knew people would check the recovery email of the Freeway Social account and he put real Deji emails there. And why would he make a fucking PayPal account to link it to Deji's father later and spend a lot of the money just buying subs? That's fucking ridiculous. At this point, I don't think anybody could deny that Deji's channel was at the very least sub-botted, except for people that have absolutely no idea about the situation. The fact that people still defend Deji for this, despite the fact that the only thing he's tried to disprove is that the IP from the Freeway Social account wasn't his, is very strange to say the least. And he didn't even do that effectively, as the Freeway Social account's IP was proven to be in the same city that Deji was residing in. But all of this evidence is not enough to persuade some people, and it certainly wasn't enough to get Deji to own up for his actions, which leads us to the Cabo situation. As mentioned previously, Cabos made several videos on Deji debunking most of what he said regarding the subbotting situation, all of which were very good videos, and I would recommend checking them out, but I can't exactly do that, and this is why. Because of his videos, Cabos was threatened with legal action by Deji's parents, with them even claiming that Cabos and Keemstar's fans went to their house to harass them because of the situation, despite the fact that the tweet was at 5 in the morning in their time zone when they tweeted this. I'm not saying that Deji's parents are lying about what happened, but this is a bit odd. And even if it did happen, it's not Cabos and Keemstar's responsibility to keep track of every fan they have and the crazy shit they do. There will always be people in your audience that go out and harass the people you talk about. It's just by nature of making commentary videos, unfortunately. This is why I put harassment disclaimers in the descriptions of my videos and sometimes even in the videos themselves, but even with that, it won't stop the crazy people that will go out and fuck with someone anyways. It's stupid to act like Cabos and Keemstar have complete control of their audiences, and to completely blame them for this happening. And that isn't even addressing the fact that they're threatening legal action. From an outsider's perspective, considering that Deji has not proven anything to be wrong about the whole situation, it looked like they were trying to actively silence Cabos and get him to stop talking about the situation, which I don't even need to say is a bad look. Like I said before, Deji has never proven any part of these accusations to be false, and has never returned to the conversation since his first video. All Cabos did was provide all the evidence that proved Deji was subbotting, and came to a conclusion based on that evidence and Deji's response. The fact that they would immediately go to legal action is very sketchy, and it makes Deji look way more guilty than before. It would be confirmed by Cabos eventually that Deji did take legal action against him, which is why all his videos were taken down, and the only people who put any attention to this were YouTubers from the commentary community, and the situation almost faded into obscurity until recently. On October 28th, 2022, Nicholas Diorio revealed messages between Cabos and Deji's ex-girlfriend, where it was revealed that Deji himself did not actually subbot. Instead, it was his parents, who wanted to make Deji happy since he was sad about not hitting 10 million subs. And once Deji found out, he sued Cabos to try and sweep the allegation under the rug, resulting in Cabos having $10,000 in legal fees. And honestly, this has to be one of the scummiest things I've seen a YouTuber do. I've seen some arguments that since Cabos claimed that Deji subbotted and not his parents, that he deserved to be sued, and that has gotta be one of the stupidest fucking arguments I've ever heard. The information that Cabos was citing was correct. The only thing that was wrong is that Deji didn't do it, and even then, that was not public knowledge until about a month ago. So trying to justify a lawsuit that drained $10,000 out of a guy when Deji knew that the allegations were true is just idiotic. And I've also seen the argument that Deji's girlfriend could very well be lying, but if you look at the emails and PayPal transactions, her story does hold up. And even if we entertain the fact that she might have been lying, that doesn't invalidate all the other evidence that was pushed forward. So to give a good summary of my thoughts on this, it was a very scummy move already to bot subscribers, even if it was just Deji's parents who were doing it. But suing another YouTuber for simply covering the situation and giving his thoughts about it is one of the scummiest fucking things I think a YouTuber can do. And everyone defending this does not understand the entire situation. Moving on. I've been trying to think of a cohesive outro for this video, but I've never been able to come up with anything to sum up the entire story, or to come to some conclusion or lesson, so I'll just say this. Despite all the evidence that came out about Deji, public opinion was still in his favor for the most part. And, you know, that makes sense. Deji has 10 million subscribers and is beloved by a lot of people. But there's certainly a tendency to side with the person that you like more in a situation instead of who is actually right. And while Cabos is respected by the commentary community, most people I've seen that don't come from that sphere just don't like him due to his attitude in his videos, and are less likely to hear him out. And this certainly makes it harder for him to be seen as in the right in situations, even with all the evidence. But with that being said, this does not justify the blind defending of Deji by any means, and Cabos did not deserve to be sued. With that being said, if you stuck around to the end instead of just disliking the video and leaving, thank you. More content should be on the way soon, though I'm not consistent like always, and I think anyone who's watched me before knows this for a fact. If you want to follow my other social medias like my Twitter or YouTube, they'll be in the description, but for now, I'll be taking my leave. Oh yeah, one last thing. #FOM.